war in Vietnam had been ongoing for about 5 years. We had an expression back then that said, it was a very negative one, that said if the 70s are anything like the 60s, we'll never see the 80s. And it was that tough. I gotta let you know it was that tough. But here at this school, in spite of everything that was going on in our world, we had a blast just enjoying being young. The school was vibrant with social clubs and activities and athletic programs were in full swing. And little did we realize that we were developing friendships and skills that would be with us for the rest of our lives. So when acting President Roscoff called me a while back and asked me to be your commencement speaker, I was speechless. That's hard for some people to imagine. But my first thought was, John, nobody else wanted to do it? I mean, why did you call me? Because I have to tell you that when I was a student here, I wasn't the one that was considered most academically challenged. I don't know if anybody ever graduates like that. But I graduated from NFCC after almost 5 grueling years of trying to maintain a 2.00004 average. But let me tell you what I did learn here. I learned about people and what makes people tick. I learned that people like to deal with people that they like. And I learned that if you want to have something happen, if you want to make something happen, sometimes you have to show people how to do it. Because almost everyone wants to see good things come out of your life. So I'd like to speak to you this evening, sort of as if I was speaking to myself, and I'd like to share with you some information about quotes and cliches that, at least in my life, have proven themselves to be true. I really don't know how you can comprehend the massive amount of potential that sits out here in front of me right now. You represent a generation so advanced in your knowledge of technology that your teachers struggle to keep up with you. You have to really think about that. You are amazing, you're very gifted, never forget that. When my class sat in the same auditorium back in 1970-something, listening to the commencement speaker, the only word that we had on our minds was probably party, truth be known. But yet from our class came professionals in all walks of life, including medical, law, engineering, civil service, and teaching. In my clique of friends, a bunch of guys that were just average guys, from my group of friends came a man that was part of a Pulitzer Prize-winning team. There was another individual that became a nuclear medicine specialist, and another dear friend of mine became a colonel in the United States Air Force. But you, my friends, you are the best educated generation in the history of the United States of America. You are an explosion. You are an explosion of ability that is waiting to happen. Are you excited? Huh? I'm not sure about that. Well, I know you're excited, and all of us know you're excited, but you have to ask yourself, what now? What next? And as the pastor said as he gave the invitation, that this is just the beginning. First, let me say that you can make a difference. And while that thought is true, it's somewhat incomplete. Because it's not that you can make a difference, it's the fact that you have to make a difference. Let me make one point perfectly clear. You sit here this evening representing not only your future, but ours. And this responsibility cannot be taken lightly. This is my world, and tonight I give it to you. Take care of it and make your decisions wisely. One of the quotes I heard early on in my business career, kind of sounds hokey, but I'll tell you anyway. It says, pigs get fat and hogs get slaughtered. Kind of take that one for a while. As you go through life, make sure that what you want out of life is something you should want, and you want it for the right reasons. Being a fat cat is fine, but if you're a hog and you get slaughtered, you're just one step away from bacon. Now let me tell you a quick story about what I call Mrs. Richter. Actually, a 10th grade biology teacher of mine, Mrs. Richter, and she gave me a quote that I believe is the most powerful quote that I've received in my education. There was a test that was supposed to be done, and I tried to make an excuse why I didn't get that test done. And as she put an F on my paper, she said, Mr. Ensminger, where there's a will, there's a way. And if you really take that one for a walk, that's an extraordinary statement. Where there's a will, there's a way. Where you are this evening in your lives is not an end, just a continuation of a beginning. If you were a baseball player, this graduation is not a double or a triple or a home run. It's simply a hit. And now that you've hit the ball, you have to decide what you're going to do with it. In my life, business started to make sense when I turned 27. I'm just going to tell you that in my particular way of growing up, it was kind of unusual, I guess. Things started to make sense when I was 27. Somebody I knew rather, suggested that I read a book years ago. It has a hokey title. It's called Think and Grow Rich. It's by a man by the name of Napoleon Hill. Since this book was published in 1937, it has been responsible for creating more millionaires than any other book published, or program for that fact. And in fact, my partner and I were hugely successful following the principles and strategies outlined in this book. But what Napoleon Hill did in this book was he found the common denominators in the efforts of hugely successful men like Henry Ford, Andrew Carnegie, and others. And your first discovery when you start to read this book is that it was not written to entertain. This book was written as a roadmap to success. So I say all that to say this. When I read this book and decided to pursue a career in the publishing industry, our goal was to become the McDonald's of the sport fishing industry. After all, McDonald's made their billions by developing and marketing and fine-tuning incredibly effective ways of selling a simple hamburger. We started with one small magazine that didn't come close to covering the state of Florida, and 10 years later, we did have 24 magazines covering 34 states. Our annual gross sales was over $5 million. We were also manufacturing fishing tackle. We had started a chain of tackle stores and had built the first of what was to be our franchise fish camps at a place called Fishing Resort. I was 34 years old. Life was good. But here's the punchline for you. Making money is only half the fun. Learning how to keep it is the other half. Do not ever believe that what you have cannot be taken away. Whether you consider family or fortune, understand the need to be prepared to protect both every day. Money comes and goes. Money by its nature is transient. Be aware of this. There's another comment that is powerful. If you can conceive it, you can achieve it. And I mean anything. Let your imaginations run wild. What needs are not being met? What job can you do better than anyone else? What can you invent that will make life easier? What can be done here at home to make a difference? We need you to lead and to take risk, to bear the burden of leadership. Your state needs you, your community needs you. And we need you to work hard with the rest of us to help us to come up with ways of turning our economy around. We did not get into the condition of our economy overnight, and the cure will not come easily. But rest assured, we are Americans, and we will build our economy back. And as you go forward, remember that the sign on the door of opportunity, it reads push. It doesn't read gently open. Don't try to sneak up on opportunity. Try to devour it. And do your best to love what you do, and do it because you love it. I would love to know what the next 5, 10, or even 20 years from now will bring into your lives, to see how you will impact our community and our world. When things have been tough in my life, and they'll be tough in yours, I can assure you, I've turned to a group of quotes that we keep on the side of my refrigerator for easy reference. And in closing, I would like to share a few of these with you. It's food for thought as you go forward into a big world. Remember that to win is simple. Just take one more step when others have quit. Here's a short one, but it's powerful. Persistence outwears resistance. The next one is enjoy what is good in life without always thinking of how it could be better. And then remember that the direction of your life is more important than its speed. And don't forget that contentment is the greatest wealth. Always treasure the love from your family as one of your greatest assets. And from the Bible, quote, if God be for me, who will be against me? Or, who of you, by worrying, can add a single hour to his life? And this is another good one. Don't die with big dreams and good deeds wadded up in your pocket. Now here's 2 Ted Ensminger originals. Feel free to use them if you want to, or just forget they ever happened. When something doesn't go exactly as you planned, you can say, you know what they say in Texas? And the person will say, what? You can say, well. No, that's bad. Or another comment that's a Ted original, and it's something I truly live by, is I can't wait till tomorrow just to see what happens next. And before I give you the last one of these earth-shattering quotes, I want to share with you the promise I made to myself 40 years ago, sitting where you're sitting, or at least in this school, probably wasn't sitting where you were sitting. Always remember what it feels like to be who you are right now. Whether you're 19 years old, 20 years old, older, it doesn't matter. But remember the energy and the enthusiasm that sits with you this evening, and it needs to be strong enough to stay with you and inside you for the rest of your days. Build on that energy that comes from youthfulness and the promise to never forget what it feels like to be young. It helps you to have a great attitude every day of your life. And I saved the last quote, I want to say the best quote for last. Here it comes. Man with finger stuck in eye can't see good. Sometimes life is just that simple. God bless you all. Be safe.